Yes.
How you doing? How you doing? Peace and love, everybody out there in Chicago, man. This is your boy, Chris Davis, aka Smooth Cuts, and you chiming in live on Another Perspective on IntellectualRadio.com. I'm your host, Chris Davis, and to my left, immediate left, we have my boy, Reese. Go ahead, state your name, sir.
What's going on? Hey, respect, David Bird. How you doing, brother David? Yeah, my name is Maurice Walls, aka Maurice Walls, and welcome to www.intellectualradio.com, where you are chiming in on Another Perspective. That's the name of our show, and we really love this platform, and we thank God for, we thank God actually for Facebook, because Facebook allows us to, to utilize the opportunity to promote positive messages, because there's so much negativity out there. And unfortunately, that's one of the things we're going to start off talking about in today's show. I'm sure everyone is should be familiar with the latest news about the mass shooting. There was a mass shooting that occurred in, I believe, in Sutherland Springs, Texas, which is a small town, I think, of only like about 650 people right outside of San Antonio. And the mass shooting actually revolved around a young man who had a history of mental illness. He was court-martialed and kicked out of the United States Air Force, the U.S. Air Force. So he served in the military. And he had a history of abusing his wife, abusing their child. And for some odd reason, even after he went through all of that, and he escaped from an actual, I think it was a behavioral institute in New Mexico. This man actually escaped from a behavioral institute in New Mexico. So I find it very interesting how this guy was able to purchase a weapon in what I consider is a WMD. And for those of you not familiar with that acronym, that's the weapon of mass destruction. I'm referring to the AR-15. The AR means assault rifle. It's a very powerful weapon. And I've been trained to use it in the military. I was trained to use the AR-15. I've also got a chance to fire AK-47s and fire the shoulder rocket propelled grenade launcher. So at any rate, these things are very dangerous, and they really shouldn't be in the hands of these people who are mentally ill. However, the Republicans, they have come up with, and some liberals, I mean, Republicans, liberals, Democrats, all synonyms to me. But at any rate, they managed to come together collectively and repeal Obama's law. Is a law that he set in place, and it was a law that just made it a little harder for people with mental illness to purchase weapons. But of course, the NRA or KKK or whatever you want to call them, and the what was it, ACUL, or one of those particular powerful unions, they all came to this collective agreement that it infringes on the Second Amendment right. And the Second Amendment right, of course, is the amendment that allows us to carry firearms or bear firearms. But the thing about it is, when it comes to bearing arms, you have to really read that amendment a little bit closer. And you have to really get in tune with what it's talking about, because it says in there you have the right to bear arms, but it says something to the nature about being an organized militia, or regulated organized militia. So, I noticed the United States Supreme Court, they have the power to look over the Constitution and, judge it and make these certain judgments and judgment calls. But the thing about it is, we have to be sensitive to the loss of innocent life here.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what it all boils down to. And I just wanted to give you guys all that political endeavor, because that's what it all boils down to at the end of the day. That's the reason why you have the NRA and these other unions, and some liberal-minded Democrats and liberal-minded Republicans and ultra-conservatives coming together collectively to repeal that Obama law. But, at the end of the day, you have to say, wait a minute, hold on. This stuff is happening too frequently.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues that's been going on as far as the Texas massacre that happened. My condolences go out to the victim that lost their lives over mass shootings. Again, I remember recently on Facebook Live, if I'm not mistaken, it was shown on Facebook Live. It was a different race of the guy was carrying a big old gun. I can't think of the name of the gun, but anyway, it was a difference between a white soldier. I don't know if he was a soldier, but he had certified to carry weapons. And what they did was the police pulled over. I don't know what state this was. You probably remember this, but they pulled them over. They asked for his gun license card, and he pulled it out and all this other stuff. Now, this is a Caucasian white man. So he pulled it out. He was like, okay, showed him everything was fine and dandy. But let's go to the flip side. Black man, same thing. Carried an AR, what's that?
AR-15?
AR-15.
Assault rifle.
Yeah. So what happens? They pull over, get out the car, pull out his weapon, tell him to get on the ground and put his hands on the ground, and they, confiscated the weapon and they arrested the man. See, to me, that's a double standard. And it's to me, that's not right, because I feel that we all should bear arms because we have every right, every constitutional right to bear arms, because if we got to protect our families, our homes, everything. Hey, we are the same people that live and breathe on the same earth, whether Mexicans, white, black, Chinese, whatever. We have every right to bear arms. So we got to look at that with the guy that did the killing in Texas, stating that he was mental issues. It's been going on. Let that have been a black man. They killed him right then and there off the spot.
Yeah, see, the thing about it is it's a double standard, and right now it's like, and it's happening very frequently. And I'm not trying to, forgive me if this sounds like a prejudice comment, because I'm not prejudiced at all. I believe in equality and equity for everyone, and unfortunately, African Americans we're not getting either equality or equity. But at any rate, it's becoming very common that you see more white American males, or white males in particular, who are carrying out these slaughters. They're carrying out these mass shootings, these tragedies that just happened recently. Remember in Las Vegas? It happened in Sandusky, when the children were shot down. It happened, and it's happening frequently, and they're using these AR-15. So what I'm wondering is, is it going to take 15 more times before the government puts a ban on the AR-15s? Because this weapon, like I said, this is a WMD, and I'll repeat for those who are not sure, who are not familiar with the acronym. This is a weapon of mass destruction, man. I mean, the magazine itself, all right, you could put 20 rounds in a magazine, and then they have this thing called the bump stock. Q, the Untouchable, how you doing, brother Q? Then you have this bump stock, the bump stock. So when you apply that, it's just like external apparatus piece. We can apply it. It allows you to actually to fire the weapon faster and from a longer range. So it's like you have this long range weapon that I think has a maximum capacity of was it 800? It can go like no, I'm talking about the distance. I think it's like 500 yards or something like that. Wow. I mean, this is a very powerful piece of equipment.
It's almost like a heat seeker.
I'm telling you, brother. And how you doing, Sister Amanda B. Cruz? Thanks for tuning in. So, so the thing I really want to chime in on today is, and I want you guys to drop a comment, and feel free to comment and ask questions, is should we allow people who have a history of mental illness to purchase these weapons? Because I know, see, the thing about the NRA, I mean, there's such a, I guess, quote unquote, threatening group, that they're so threatening because they're so gung-ho about this whole Second Amendment, the right to bear arms and a well-organized militia. I mean, it's crazy, man. People, they can't tell you like the real meaning behind like Jim Crow, and they can't tell you the history of the United States. Can't tell you
because they don't want to.
Can't tell you that African Americans, we're the ones who really built this country on the slave labor back of African Americans. But they're so, pardon me one second here, but they're so quick. They're so quick to tell you that, hey, man, you can't infringe on our Second Amendment right to bear arms. So, excuse me, having a little technical difficult issue here. So, what I want you guys to chime in on is and ask questions is: do you think that people who are mentally ill should be allowed to purchase weapons, especially somebody with a background who committed abuse against his wife and his child and was court-martialed? He was kicked, dishonorably discharged from the military, referring to the guy who committed the atrocity in Sutherland Springs, Texas.
Well, my thing is my perspective on another www.intellectualradio.com. Hey, cousin Herbert. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? Lee, how you doing, sir? And Dennis. My perspective on that with the mental issueness that's going on, I believe that they need to be checked out. So the reason why I say they need to be checked out, because ain't no telling, they might have what you call schizophrenia, Tourette syndrome. They might just, jump off all of a sudden, because you never know the history of the background that they've been through. It might be a family trait. And you have also bipolar, because, the month, I believe it was like a couple months ago, it was like a suicide month, or,
Suicide Awareness Month.
Suicide Awareness Month. I mean, it's a lot of awareness that's going on from a couple months ago. Prior to this month, you have pancreatic cancer month awareness, and you have what's the name of the other month?
Prostate
and
colon cancer.
So when you're at that particular age, just make sure you get yourself checked out. That's in young people, like that's in a late 30s, early 40s, 50s.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you get your prostate exam checked up. So you never know. I mean, I didn't have family members lost their lives, due to pancreatic cancer. So that's very serious. That's a good awareness month. So get that checked up.
Hey, I want to mention here something. I want to read a comment. Sister Amanda B. Cruz says, "No way. It doesn't make sense to let someone who is mentally ill hold a firearm. There is a reason why they are ill. There's an imbalance. There's an imbalance to the brain." She's
absolutely. That's so right. 100.
And I mean, the USA. United States, whatever you want to call this place. I mean, this place already has a history of being mentally ill. I mean, think about it. Look, put it in this perspective. This is an offer a fresh perspective. I mean, think of the president that we have in office right now. It took a bunch of mentally ill people, in my opinion, to vote for this man. Okay,
I think they was mentally twisted.
Right. I mean, to put this man in office who is mentally ill, it took 65 million mentally ill people to vote for this guy. So, I mean, America is not only a country that's built on protest, but it is a country that's built on people who are mentally ill. So I want you guys to chime in. Let's really talk about this, because one of the main problems that we're having here, cousin Herbert, brother Thomas, one of the issues and problems that we're having here is that since things are so imbalanced, and since we have such a double standard in this country, we have to use like what's called like translation here. It's like every time a black person commits a particular crime, and once again, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to give light to the situation in a sense where, it's like we're endorsing this, but it's like when a black person commits a crime, they are automatically viewed or perceived as a thug, right? A black person mentally, yeah, absolutely right. Right, brother Thomas. So a black person could be chilling on a corner, standing waiting for pick up his sister or brother from school, and they're viewed as a thug. If a Latino person comes to the country, let's say they don't have their paperwork together, they're viewed as a drug dealer or rapist. Or even just a regular immigrant. Right. If an Arab, is walking around and they're wearing their religious attire, they're automatically viewed as, oh my God, this dude is getting ready to blow up the world through a terrorist, right? A white person commits a crime, it's either affluenza, which is with some crap, some doctor.
Schizophrenic.
Right. But remember that thing about the affluenza when they said, well, right, because of the crime that the young man committed, and I forget which state it was in. And remember, he was driving drunk and he killed some people, and his lawyer was able to get him off because they said, well, he's suffering from affluenza, which means he's so wealthy he didn't know what he was doing. And then you have So the point I'm trying to make is ultimately is that it doesn't make sense about this double standard. Hey, look, I want you guys to chime in. What we're going to do is we're going to go to a real quick break. We're going to play some really good music live, www.intellectualradio.com, and we're going to come back. So post your comments. We're still Facebook Live. Okay, we'll be back. Hey, what's cracking, like, and stacking, everybody? My name is Maurice Walls, aka Maurice Walls, and we're back. The panelists, you are tuned into www.intellectualradio.com. The name of the segment is Another Perspective. And to my immediate right, we have brother.
Oh yeah, what's going on again, people? Peace and love. This is your boy Chris Davis, aka Smooth Cuts, and chiming off to the right, we have my brother here.
I'm Ace the Real. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little late, but
it's okay.
It's IntellectualRadio.com. Another perspective. Go ahead, Marcus. Do your thing, bro.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and just continue off where we left off at, and continue on where we left off. And we were just talking about mental illness and just talking about the double standard that's set here in the USA, and how, and like I said, it's very interesting how African Americans are always viewed as thugs, or always viewed as just some, I don't know, just something from another planet. We're feared or disdained by everyone if something were to happen in a criminal aspect. And if a Latino person comes to the country and they have they say they don't have all their paperwork together and they're trying their best to get into this country and they work hard just as anybody else, they're viewed as rapists or viewed as drug dealers.
Right.
And an Arab person walks around in their attire,
they're terrorists.
And Sister Diaz Sanders said something, and it's pretty cool. She said there's a color code key going around the internet that explains those gun categories using the Family Guy. Okay. Sadly, it's great. Absolutely. We are embracing a color code in this country that really needs to be cracked swiftly, because every time a white person does something, and this is the second or third time that this has happened.
More than that.
But I'm talking about consecutively. This is the second or third time based on the events that just happened, with going Sutherland, Texas, and then going back to Vegas and the event that happened before that. It's always mental illness.
And that's a shame, because they can tap into their mental state. But if you notice, it's a double standard when these people have these mental illnesses, but they elect not to disclose their background, saying that, oh, we didn't know he had a domestic violence on his background, or
Well,
he
they
has,
knew about it.
yeah, and they didn't bring that to light, but they give these people these gun cards.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But here it is, I get a misdemeanor, disorderly. They tell me in the door, well, you can't go get you a gun card. You can't get a license to carry. But at the same time, you know, when we do something like that, we are criminals. We're animals.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We're looking for trouble.
And at the end of the day, you know, we looked up on like we are animals, but at the same time, the animals is the people that's actually is white that does these crazy things, running into churches, shooting up places with these AR-15s with these bunk stocks on them. But as soon as I do something, you know, they looking at me like, oh, he's a criminal because he's black. You know, they need to get up off this black white thing and making it where their superiority is higher than ours. But at the same time, we are the ones that's trying to come with common sense theories. You feel me?
Right. Yeah. And my thing was, when I was discussing about earlier, how it's a stereotype with a white guy that was carrying the same weapon in the streets, and the police pull him over, and they want to know his gun card, give it to him, and everything is fine. Yeah. But let a black man, again, same thing, same gun card, same
credentials,
everything. He get on the ground. He's get arrested,
or they get shot. Or you know how many instances where you saw it when young brother was in the car with his wife.
That was in Minnesota,
and he tell you, I got a gun, and I'm licensed to carry, but because he put his hand back there to get his wallet, the white cop started shooting. You know what I'm saying?
Orlando Castillo
had the baby.
That's crazy.
You know, it's ridiculous how they view us. But at the same time, if you look at history, these people has manipulated the laws of the land, and you know, they use their counterparts or counterpartners to actually, you know, well, he's not guilty because of this situation and this, you know, every situation that comes out. Just in case in point, where the brother got shot 16 times.
Right, the Kwame Donald. Yeah.
And he went away with a knife. You could have shot him in the leg. You could have, you know, shot him in the foot, or maybe in the arm where the knife was in. But instead, you unloaded. Now here it is.
Because he was a threat.
We are all threats with just by the skin color, because they are already scared of us, because in the back of their mind, they know they wrong. So they try to use the superiority. They try to use their badges. They try to use their authority and jobs. You know, any way that they can get a leg up on us, they want to make us look like we're animals. And that's a shame. And we are the builders.
I want to read a comment real quick. And absolutely.
Punch like anyway.
Sister,
you know,
Sister
show me that you listen.
My man, Sister Danita Lake said, let me go down. She says, systematic categorization of criminology. That's what it is. A systematic categorization of criminology.
And that's a shame.
And you know, she said it's convict leasing. It goes back to the vagrancy laws. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Here's another comment.
Slave patrols.
Here's another. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But here's another comment from Hanu. Hey, Hanu.
Hey, Hanu.
It says mental illness is difficult because many people go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed, and one of the ones that they do to get diagnosed sometimes is lack of access to medicine, counseling, and support structures. Some refuse treatments even after diagnosis, and no one can force treatments on them. What words, wisdoms that what you might have for those who are in the support system, community, and someone who is mentally ill, adjusted. So basically, the systematic is messed up. So
the system is going against the indigenous.
It's going against the grain.
It's going against the people that actually built this world,
Right.
built and made the medicines, made the machinery, that made the things that common folks today is using. My thing is about that situation
Go ahead.
is why would you put somebody bigger than the other? You know what I'm saying? You see it every day. Racism exists within the laws of the land. Racism exists in common day folk. Racism is in the jobs. Anything that you do, the first thing they're gonna look at is your color. They don't know what type of education I have. They don't know what we, as Black people and Mexican, Puerto Rican, indigenous people, period. They don't know what we are worth. They know what we worth because we are the ones that created things for us to deal with, like television, the toilet, anything. So a car, the engine, everything. So what they try to do is discount that or ignore the fact, because they've been grown into a society of manipulation.
Absolutely.
You feel what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, my cousin Herbert, I appreciate it. Shout out to my cousin Herbert Thomas. He said, but most of our brothers and sisters are making it bad on us. When we do something good and some things bad happens, we need to band together against the system instead of trying to embrace it.
Well, that comes from where you got people that's ignorant to the fact. They try to make themselves bigger than what they are, living outside their means, trying to be something that they're not looking at the facts at hand. You have people that ignore things because they don't want to be involved, or they stay quiet and not speak out about it. You don't have to speak out. You don't have to speak out on the media. You don't have to speak out in television or radio, whatever the case may be. You can speak out within your household. Right. That means keep educating. Every day is an experience. Every day you wake up, it's something going on. You turn on your TV. If it ain't traffic, it's somebody dying or somebody being scammed. You know what I'm saying? Just like now, this new thing about popping cards. They call it popping cards, but cracking. The card cracking, stealing people's identity, trying to be, like I say, trying to be something that they're not. And then at the same time, you have people creating these crimes that's coming up. It's time to face reality as it is. Right from wrong. It's wrong. Don't do it. And then you got people that don't care. But see, that goes back to the household. If you check your crib, a lot of the stuff that's going on outside your door will come down to a minimum because of some of the fact you got a hand on it.
That is so 100.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And then you got some people like our own kind judging.
How could you judge?
Well, I'm gonna give you a prime example. I'm gonna make it short and brief. I was at the laundromat, and this lady and her son was at the laundromat, African American lady. And I was washing my clothes, and I got my clothes out the washer, put it in the dryer. Same place where she had all her clothes. I didn't have that many clothes to put in the dryer. So she thought that I stole some of her clothes in her son's drawers. Labeling me like I stole some stuff from her. I said, lady, I done watched you every move you make, and you saying that I took your son's clothes. All along, you had my drawers with your son's stuff. So,
right.
I mean, now you listed me as like I'm a thief? Come on, man.
The thing is you got people that's ignorant, right. Period. You on both sides of the fence. Kept it brief
and simple and just moved around.
Yeah.
I want to bring up a point just to speak to Hanu's point. I know what Hanu was talking about, like actually being able to diagnose these people who are mentally ill. Well, here's the thing, like I was saying earlier, Hanu, just to speak to that point, is that America is a country who was started by people who were mentally ill. You got to think, the people, the original colonists that came to this country, talking about European colonists, when they came here to devastate the indigenous people of this country, that was their mission. What other mission they have? A lot of these people that they brought over here, in the colonies, these Europeans, these were people that were were crazy folks.
Schizophrenic.
These people were prisoners.
Just saying that earlier.
These people were people who were murderers and adulterers and thieves. They just brought all that stuff over there. And then what you're looking at when we see a lot, especially these people down south, you're just looking at the descendants of these crazy white folks and Europeans that came over here. One of the sisters made a comment, right? I want to read it real quick. She says, this sister D.S. Sanders, she says, all of these white folks are not mentally ill. Some of them are just violent and evil. Well, Devin Kelly was a woman beater. That's the guy who committed the atrocity, Devin Kelly.
But if you think about it, think about this. Look at all the white folks that's in power, that got money, 1%ers, millionaires.
Yep, the 1%ers, yep.
They go crazy because of the simple fact they are greed. Greed is, to me, is a mental illness.
Yes.
You got to think about that. If you got power, that means you feel that you're untouchable, just like the guy that's, you know, that's doing the movies. You know,
what's his name?
Weinstein.
Weinstein.
Yeah.
Only way you'll be able to get in the movie, you had to have sexual contacts, or he was fondling, you know. But if you think about it, it was just a hush hush when Obama was in office. But when you got Trump set up there and made it known that he fondled, just like you had Bill Cosby, you know what I'm saying? You got the R. Kelly, you know, everybody, they had this money and had this power to uplift people. They think devious. To me, that's a mental illness when you thinking evil or doing evil things. You know, you got these people that's got these cults. That's evil. You know what I'm saying? You having babies by your daughters and all of that is evil. That's, to me, that's a mental illness. But when you have people knowing that your child, something is mentally wrong, or your uncle, or even your dad, if you know that and you not trying to help them, you really hindering them from help.
And that's what's going to build it up.
And that's what I couldn't understand about that guy, Devin Kelly. That joker, he was diagnosed with mental illness. He escaped from a behavioral institute in New Mexico. The man escaped. They had to go find this guy. This guy had mental illness. He was court-martialed from the military. You know why he was court-martialed, guys, from the military? Because he was sneaking in weapons onto the military base.
So he was sneaking in the
weapons onto the Air Force base. He was bringing.
But that's the thing. You got his friends. Everybody was on some evil, vindictive things. You had. Think about. They don't talk about the people that's in the military or any place that's putting them on a higher pedestal, where they bringing in drugs. They doing things to women and raping them, colleges doing the same things, these frats and these fraternities. When you thinking evil and you got a vindictive mind, that's a mental illness.
Yes.
Because if you think straight and you use common sense theories, you wouldn't think about doing nothing evil. You know what I'm saying? So I you know, everybody have some type of get quick scheme.
Right.
Everybody.
That's all it is.
Everybody. But you have people that's in play to change it right then and there. But just like Penn State, y'all knew this coach was raping these little boys. That's a mental illness. He had a sex-addicted mental illness. Mental illness come up on a, you know, mental illness might be the title, but you got to think about all the stuff that's up. You got ABC, subtext, everything. You know what I'm saying? The mental and the thinking process is a disease.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to just read a comment real quick before we continue to move on. Sister Martha Brock Lethbridge says the general population is concerned with public safety and often finds it difficult to accept the possibility that a mentally ill individual who commits a crime can be hospitalized and eventually discharged, sometimes after a relatively short time. In most countries, the options of incarceration and hospitalization are available in concert. and some incarceration occurs before hospitalization. Yeah, and yeah, that's another issue, because it seems like the mentally ill is something that's really being overlooked in this country. I mean, look at all the psych wards and the mental rehabilitation centers that they closed down. They just stopped funding them. And this is interesting, guys. When I worked before I graduated from DePaul, I actually worked for DePaul. I was working in public safety. In downtown Alupa, I was working on Jackson Estate. Oh my God, you guys be surprised how many mentally ill people come through there.
That's because they closed down Tinley Park. And so and I work in the nursing home field.
Okay.
I worked in the hospital. I worked in just last night. This guy, the order to deal with his mental, he had to drink. Drinking and then having a mental illness,
it's like oil and water
equals disaster. You know what I'm saying?
If he don't have his drink, he's gonna be very disruptive.
No, he was already talking to himself, on, doing all the time.
Like,
but now he took it to another level, because instead of him getting medicine, he went to the bottle. Now he's not regulating his thought process. I have an uncle that's schizophrenic. You know what I'm saying? But you got different divisions,
Right.
And it's all about, if you deal, like when you have a child that got autism,
Yes.
they find it real early in the game, right?
How do they find that?
How do they find it? Because the way he reacts. You have people that have Down syndrome.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And dyslexia.
And dyslexia. You have all this. Is it mental or is it physically challenged? You know what I'm saying? You have to put it on a scale. If you have a child that every time he get a piece of paper and a pencil and he drawing crazy things, bombs, body parts or something, that's a mental illness.
Absolutely.
He's not taught that. That's because he's enraged within his mind.
Right. There's something going on.
Even when we get upset, thinking rational, we start thinking irrational.
That's a really good point. Since we're
You
talking about,
did make a good point.
since we're talking about mental illness, because of the simple fact that, like I said, we understand the history of the European colonists that come over here. They came over here mentally ill, but African Americans are mental illness in the African American community is something that's being heavily overlooked, and it stems from a much deeper or deeply rooted issue. It just doesn't come from the fact that we're just mentally ill or it's a genetic or hereditary. I think a lot of it comes from the abuses and atrocities that our people faced from when they came through the transatlantic.
So let's go back again.
Trade.
It started from the home, right? If you have I know,
but I was talking about from the transatlantic slave trade.
Right. Think about that. It can start from there. History. That's fine. Let's come to modernize. Let's come to modernize time. Right now, if it's hereditary through the family, don't you think you should be able to detect that and get help right then and there? Or you have families like, he'll be all right, we can deal with it. No, sometimes it need psych doctors. You need certain type of medicines. Just like when you have these kids acting out, is that a mental illness or is it a
behavioral disorder?
Isn't that mental illness? Right. If your behavior is crazy and you're doing crazy things, isn't that a mental illness? Because that's all they know is destruction.
Right.
You got to look at it from a whole perspective. Right. You know what I'm saying?
And that's why we need more doctors in that field. And that's why they need to stop cutting the funding. They've cut all the funding to that because of everything that you just said. We need someone to explore and diagnose and give a prognosis, because your child is in class, he's in school, he might be acting out and stuff like that. And then the teachers will automatically say, oh, he's got ADD, but it might not be ADD.
Right. Maybe he just needs that attention.
Maybe he just needs some attention. Right.
Because the family is not,
that's a good point.
And
we were just talking about this. Somebody debated me on this.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah, that's not the case, buddy. That's
not
what
I'm saying?
At all.
It's also about what you eat.
We're gonna segue into that too.
Segue into that next. It's all about what you eat.
Because food. Well, wait a minute. Right before we segue into that, y'all want to talk a little bit more about the hereditary, and just
go ahead.
Check this out. Everybody chime in. Remember, this is www.IntellectualRadio.com. That's right. Hit the like button. Drop these comments.
And drop a comment.
And we also on YouTube at the end of the show.
That's right, baby. That's
right.
Please
check us out on another perspective on IntellectualRadio.com.
Since we're talking about mentally ill, and we see all these events that are happening, all these atrocities that's being perpetrated, and since I want to say, well, it's, white people are mentally ill, black people are thugs, Latinos are rapists and murderers and blah, 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 blah. Food. Let's talk about this. The food industry is doing some crazy stuff these days. I want you guys to drop a comment, and we're going to talk about this and offer a fresh perspective on this. What do you, in addition to a family, being your home raised, your upbringings, your church, your community, whatever it is, I don't know if you're Mason, whatever you're involved in, do you think that food has a significant impact on the way people behave, on manipulating their moods, and on anything that will alter their level of consciousness?
I think so.
Food. Now, who wants to go first?
I do it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, brother.
Because I feel like this. You are what you eat. And if you not getting the protein and the vitamins and the vegetables and, the things that makes your body function right, it start messing with the chemicals in your body.
Yes.
Because your body got chemicals itself. It got enzymes, it got all of that. And if it's lacking, if it's getting more of garbage than the actual foods and the proteins and the vitamins that actually keep you running. See, that's where you have to look at it, where the FDA, the medicines, is a big distributor of who you are. It's like a big business. So if you got all these KFCs, McDonald's, and blah 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 blah, and not thinking about your vegetables and what meats to eat and how to cook it, and you have to get your milks and your vitamin, all of that takes a toll on your mind. Think about this. If you're not eating right or not eating at all, what comes? Bulimic, anorexic. You have people that start going crazy because of the simple fact they thinking about the hunger. You see what I'm saying? So that means he's not getting what all the preservatives in his body, so he start thinking crazy. You put somebody in the desert and he ain't got no water, he start hallucinating, he start talking to himself, he start seeing mirages. He'll try to suck on a tarantula juice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just to get that,
or eat a sandwich. Or you have where the indigenous peoples in these foreign countries start eating certain bugs, because the bugs that they have
the minerals.
You got yes. Yep. So you got to look at all of that. You don't know how each person's body is a different type of chemical imbalance or balance.
And then you got to look at it like this. We're going to keep it short and brief because we ain't got that
much time. Yeah.
Ooh, time flies when you're having fun.
What I can say is, for instance, me being a former Chicago public school teacher, and I see kids coming into class with Flaming Hots and 50 cent juices, and then they
Sour Patches.
They want to. This is what they do in the class.
Yeah, it's a drug. Sugar is a drug. It's a high and low.
Wake up and then they want to get mad at you like you the culprit.
Right.
Like you interrupted their nap.
Like, come on, bro, man.
You can't even put your nouns and verbs together.
Because he worried about because he want that piece of wine candy.
But I interrupted your nap.
Right.
Sister D.S. Sanders said something really powerful. My cousin Johnny. He said not only food but water too. We got to get plenty of water in the body to flush out all the garbage we put in. But Sister Sanders said all the chemicals, GMOs, hybrids, and processed foods are definitely toxic to the development of the brain and biochemical balance.
Right.
It's all collusion.
That's going back what I said.
Right. All this stuff, man.
What you eat.
And check this out. So this is another perspective. We're going to offer a fresh perspective. Here's some of the things that you need to include into your diet. And it says, the Senator says that Jarnell, because people in Flint, Michigan are still being poisoned with the water. That's right. They committed a flinticide in Flint, Michigan. I call it flinticide. But here's the things you need to include in your diet, people, to help you. And what it does is it releases those bad chemicals, unclogs the arteries. We have 3 minutes left. So we're going to talk about a couple of things here. Start eating some kale greens.
Kale.
Get you some kale. Put you some tomatoes and onions in it, because those are antioxidants. And get you some broccoli in your system. Cut back on the fried food. Now, I'm not a hypocrite. I like fried chicken, but I've cut back on it tremendously.
Eat some bake or barbecue.
Or grill.
No, not barbecue.
Broil.
Broil.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Broil.
No, we got you. And so include that kale in there. Get you some bananas and some grapes. Get you some strawberries, because you need your vitamin C. And yeah, so those things right there, they'll help you feel vibrant. They'll bring life back to you, because all that, what Brother Ace was talking about.
Detox is very important as well too.
When you put that garbage in, that's what's going to come out. It's like the Bible says. Like the Bible says, can a good water fountain bring forth bad water? Of course not. So what you are on the inside is what's going to come out on the outside. But with 3 minutes left, anything you guys want to hit? Because now we got probably like 2 minutes and 20 seconds left now.
Well, I just want everybody to know this is a show that you can be able to, chime in through Facebook, YouTube, iHeartRadio.
Yes.
This is talk radio. This is another perspective. And I'm Aaron, a.k.a. Ace the Real, on IntellectualRadio.com.
And I'm Chris Davis, a.k.a. Smooth Cuts. Follow me on Instagram at smooth_cuts with the KUTZ 82. Follow me on Instagram, and you'll see all my live haircut pictures and everything else. So if you want to get faded, I'm the man to holler at.
And I'm Brother Maurice Walls, a.k.a. Maurice Walls. Thank you for joining us for another segment of Another Perspective. And my cousin said, my cousin Jarnell Walls, who I love truly, says, yes, so true. Alkaline water is the best. Yes, get some alkaline water in your system. You can naturally alkaline it too. If you can't afford it, buy some water, cut some cucumbers in it, let it sit overnight. You can naturally alkaline it. Hey, thank you for joining us for Another Perspective. www.intellectualradio.com. God bless you. Peace. Financially. Peace.